Hello Marvel Legends, are you ready to go back to the 90s? What kind of a question is that? Of course, all of us are ready to go back to the 90s. We're quite frankly ready to go back anywhere. I swear if Doc Brown turned up today and he was like, Dave, you've got to come back with me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, wherever, whatever the year is. Like, ready? You don't want to know why or when? No, I'm good. Just, yeah, wherever. Let's go. So, I bet you thought I was going to welch on this video series. No, I didn't. We're back to the amazing Spider-Man animated TV show from 1994. Oh, all the nostalgic love. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's do it. Episode 2, I'm watching. I'm going to watch and comment and go back and forth. Let's do it. So after we've all had a chance to enjoy the amazing intro all over again, we crack onto Spider-Man swinging through the city. Again, the beautiful animation. For a Saturday morning cartoon, they really nailed this. And what happens? Spider-Man gets attacked by all these flying drone smart bomb things, and we get all the great Spidey staples. First of all, he's flipping and diving. It's not just boring sort of movement. The animators go like, right, how can he move and dodge and evade these things like a spider, like an acrobat? So it's all tumbling, and this is before parkour was a thing as well, or at least like very mainstream. Parkour! So this kind of movement is really creative. And of course, Spidey being Spidey, they get over all the different aspects of his character. First of all, his spider sense. They have the wonderful but I've kind of got the spider sense thing going here with the colours changing behind me. So he gets the spider sense, goes into action. What does he do? Gets his camera out so that he can start capturing the photos. Classic Spider-Man. And as the battle progresses, we see that he is being watched. And who is he being watched by? Oh, it's Norman Osborn with my kind of Norman Osborn action figure. This might be, I haven't watched the rest of the episode yet, but this might be the only action figure that we actually have for this episode, because I think we are only going to have Norman and the Smythes, who are the new characters in this episode. And Marvel Legends, we ain't got a Smythe yet. So that's what we need a new addition for. I should have like a little list at the end of the episode, like who have we not had, immortalized yet? But we do have Norman, kind of. We have the Norman head from the wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous retro Green Goblin, and any figure that comes with an extra head, oh, that just gives a huge big seal of approval. And this one, they captured his bizarre cornrow kind of hair really, really well. So this, you would be expected to put it on top of the Green Goblin figure, which is kind of cool because the Green Goblin has like a sort of neckerchief type bit where it would kind of like make sense to have like a normal human head on it. But what actually works way better is the Professor X body. Now this isn't how I normally have him displayed. I normally have this Osborn head on my Iron Patriot figure, so I can make a badass Dark Avengers lineup. But for the sake of this video, because I'm such a professional, I pop the head off and I put him onto the Xavier body. And this is the first time I've done this actually, and yeah, he's even wearing Goblin Green. That looks really cool. Although I gotta say, I hate this suit body with these feet, which are so difficult to balance standing up. So my Stan Lee, my J. Jonah Jameson, my Chameleon, freaking nightmares to try and stand up and balance. But they do look awfully good with the soft plastic for the tie, with the nice soft plastic for the coat as well. Really, really great. So let's see what these guys are up to.
Gentlemen, I give you my Spider Slayer, the Black Widow.
Alright, speaking of figures that we don't have that we really need, a giant Black Widow Spider Slayer robot? Yep, I'd buy that for $1. Ah, ha, ha. Little RoboCop reference for you there.
I'd buy that for $1.
So yeah, we need Spencer Smythe, we need Alistair Smythe, and we need a giant, a Build-A-Figure! Yes! A giant Black Widow Build-A-Figure. Although actually, with the Spider Slayer robots, there's a few Transformers figures that would actually work really well for that. There's like a Black Arachnia figure you could get, or there's also like a Scorpion Spider Slayer, so like a Scorponok, like an old school Scorponok figure. Repaint that, gosh, that'd be an expensive custom, but oof! Oh, that would look nice.
Then there's the caterer, the parking attendants, the musicians, the cleaning crew. It's all been taken care of, right, Mr. Jameson?
Of course.
Okay, well, shut my mouth, because in the next scene, we get the first appearance of Felicia Hardy, not the Black Cat, necessarily, not yet anyway, but we get Felicia Hardy, a slightly blonde-looking Felicia Hardy, but she has this banter with J. Jonah Jameson, and they use the dialogue like there's nothing wasted. They establish that her father is like a big contributor to this and that, but essentially they kind of get over who she is, and she wants a photographer to chronicle this gala event, and they have a lovely little sort of character moment where JJ's like, oh, I'll send my best photographer, with his fingers crossed behind his back, like he can't even admit to himself that Peter is just like, no, I have to make like Peter's actually terrible.
That's why I'm sending my very best photographer.
And Peter comes in, and they have instantly, you got that chemistry. It's like flirty flirt, and it's kind of nice and goofy. And
Mr. Jameson says you're his best photographer.
He does? You point, you shoot, no big deal.
At the end of the scene when Felicia walks out, Jameson's like, Parker, close your mouth. That's why this series is so good. Like, they have good character moments.
Wouldn't want things getting out of hand, would we?
I don't intend to play judge and jury, Spencer. I just want Spider-Man captured. He's a criminal.
Yeah, and he's big news too.
Okay, so in the next scene, we go back to the Smythes and Osborn, and I think I might have got ahead of myself, as I am wont to do. We didn't actually say what they were doing with the drones. They are trying to capture Spider-Man. Osborn specifically wants to capture Spider-Man. But again, there's nuances to the characters, because Eddie Brock is there as well. So we've got some real core characters. So Eddie Brock has been commissioned to chronicle their attempt to capture Spider-Man. And so far, no one is overly villainous. Osborn is saying, he wants to stop this dangerous vigilante, and he wants to do it by the book. So it's not like he's some evil villain who's like, I want to, foil Spider-Man. He's like, no, this guy's a dangerous vigilante and I want to stop him. I'm sure, he wants the glory or whatever, but there's nuance to the character, but there's like some subtle backstory as well, because Alistair and Spencer Smythe are reluctantly working with him, and Alistair is, Alistair is in his wheelchair, and Spencer says how, he doesn't feel comfortable working with Osborn, but he wants to, get this super duper luxury futuristic chair for his son, because he blames himself for the accident that put him in the wheelchair. And it's like, wow, Spider-Man, you're giving us nuance and character depth. Go you. Oh my goodness, this episode is way more heavily stacked than I ever realized, because in the next scene, who do we meet? The Kingpin. What a great time to get the retro Kingpin. There you go, bring a little bit of light on the situation. It's because my computer screen is too bright. It's confusing my my camera. What a wonderful addition retro Kingpin has been to my collection. Oh my giddy lord. So, he's very similar. He's not just a repaint of the Bath. They have added some extras like the beautiful cravat going on there, and what I love about him is just there's so much more colour. You got the bright purple trousers, and I'm managing to keep his jacket white, which is quite amazing. But yeah, with the red handkerchief, the blue cravat, the orange waistcoat, this is the Kingpin I always wanted. When I had the Bath, I was like, oh, if only they painted him more colourfully. And then lo and behold, Hasbro, you were happy to take our money. God bless you. So Osborn has this clandestine meeting with the Kingpin. And again, more character development shoved in your face. It's so good. We reveal that Osborn, shock horror, is not the philanthropist we thought he was, but he's been hired or coerced by the Kingpin to capture Spider-Man, because Kingpin is worried that, Spidey's going to start, interfering with his own nefarious business. So basically he's got some sort of deal with Osborn where, Osborn will deliver Spider-Man to him, or Kingpin gets to take charge of Oscorp. And the scene kind of ends with a nice little sort of bow on it where Osborn's like, so either way you win, you either get Spider-Man or you get Oscorp. And he's like, I know.
That's why I'm the Kingpin.
Mwah! Chef's kiss. This is why these TV shows, these episodes were such a great gateway into the comics, because they weren't just cardboard cutouts, these characters. They had personality, and it's like, I want to get to know more about these guys. So next scene, we're at the gala, and we get so many more characters as well. This is classic Spider-Man, and more characters that we need Hasbro to make. Hasbro, stop doing repaints. Give us new characters. Or give us new characters that are essentially repaints, but are technically new characters. Alright? I saw a rumor that they're going to be doing a Negative Zone Spider-Man, and I'm like, no! I don't want a Negative Zone Spider-Man. I want a Flash Thompson figure, because that's who we see in this scene. Felicia Hardy turns up with Flash Thompson, and instantly she's more interested in hooking up with Peter Parker, and it's great having the high school-y type dynamics. Or again, that's what I love about this show, is that they're not in high school. They're actually young adults, and like they probably went to high school, but they don't together. But they don't really focus on that. It's like, no, these are grown-up people, and these are their dynamics. So Peter is hanging out with Harry, who is the other person that we need a Marvel Legend for. I'd love a young Harry Osborn Marvel Legend. That would be great, just to fill out the classic roster. And Peter Parker, in true Peter Parker fashion, rather than bringing a hot date to the event, he brings Aunt May, which is just lovely, because you just know Peter would do that. If he had a spare ticket to some lush, extravagant gala, of course he'd want to bring his Aunt May, who, you know, he feels he owes so much to. So that's really sweet. And instantly, Black Cat is like, okay, Flash, peace. I'm gonna go dance with Peter Parker. So while all of this is happening, these characters are being observed by the Smythes, Brock and Osborn on their little spy drones. They're watching everything, almost like they're planning something. And in the meantime, Flash, who's furious about being stood up for Peter Parker, goes out to his car with Harry to get a Spider-Man costume that he brought with him on the off chance he might need it. Maybe I missed something. Either way, he dresses up as Spider-Man to try and intimidate Peter Parker. So you can see where this is going. So he bursts in, dressed up as Spider-Man. He's like, hey Parker, I want to talk to you. I don't like those pictures you've been taking of me. And Pete's like, I'm pretty sure this guy's a fake. But he's like, geez, well, sorry. And of course, right as someone else is dressed as Spider-Man, that is when the huge, big, gigantic Black Widow spider swoops in and attacks. So Peter Parker disappears to change into his Spider-Man garb, and in the meantime, the robot starts trashing everywhere, people are in danger. JJ's like, you know, oh, where's Parker? I need photographs. And of course, Spider-Man comes in, they have a little tussle and a to-do, but in the fracas, the Black Widow picks up a Spider-Man and flies off. Which one do you think he got? Okay, so this is actually a really fun scene. So Eddie Brock, Osborn and the Smythes, they have the Spider-Man delivered to them, and they're filming and broadcasting live. So Eddie Brock is like, you know, this is Eddie Brock on the scene, and I'm gonna reveal Spider-Man to you. And he pulls off the mask, and of course it's Flash Thompson, and JJ is watching the news, and he's like, oh, I guess this was all worth it. Well done, Brock, you know, great job. And of course, at that point, the real Spider-Man comes in, and JJ's like, it's like, I know that's a real Spider-Man, I can smell him. And there's a fun scene then, there's a fun scene on a fun scene, where a bunch of hired goons, they come running into where Brock and Flash Thompson Spider-Man are, and they come to, you know, kidnap Flash Thompson Spider-Man, and, you know, Brock's filming them, and they smash the camera out of Brock's hands, and he's like, hey, I got First Amendment rights, to which one of them replies, they've just been amended. It's like, oh, bravo, hired goon. That was a good line. So, yeah, that was kind of cool. And of course, this is the Kingpin's thugs coming to kidnap Spider-Man. And again, with nuances with the characters, the Smythes are like, this wasn't the deal. We were just going to hand him over to the police. So they're not completely villainous. And of course, Osborn's like, I have no idea what this is all about. Yeah, sure you don't, pal. And of course, on top of this is another example where Spider-Man has royally screwed over Eddie Brock, not through any fault of his own, but just from the circumstances. So JJ has gone from being like, Brock's fantastic, to Eddie Brock just made my whole company look stupid, to which Spider-Man's like, well, that's not exactly difficult to do. So again, the banter is so strong, and again, 2 episodes in, we're planting the seeds for the Eddie Brock, I was gonna say heel turn, but he's already kind of a heel, so the Eddie Brock super heel turn. So Spider-Man swings over to rescue Flash Thompson, and this is where we have our big set piece to wrap up the episode, a big grand finale. So Spidey, of course, is fighting the good fight, he's fighting the goons, and of course Norman Osborn is like, we got no choice, let's release the freaking Black Widow, we got a giant spider robot, I want to see them, he went full Godzilla. Let them fight.
Let them fight.
And of course, we get some more dynamic where this is clearly a very dangerous situation, not where an elderly man and his wheelchair-bound son should be. So Spencer Smythe is like, Osborn, you gotta go. Get my son out of here. And Alistair is like, Father, you can't leave us. And I don't know where, is his accent supposed to be an English accent or like a super posh, like the Hamptons type, posh American accent? I can't quite place it with my ear. But either way, Osborn has created this situation and he's kind of getting Alistair out of the way while Spencer is going to try and curtail the situation and control the Black Widow robot. I'm sure it's all going to end fine. So amidst all the chaos, Spider-Man is able to defeat the Black Widow spider. He drops it into a big vat of acid and that's neutralized. And he actually has a really nice scene with Flash Thompson where Flash is like kind of really humble. He's like, I always hoped that when the chips were down I was going to be more like you, but instead I was a coward. And Peter, being like the super cool guy that he is, he's like, don't worry, like, I'm not going to tell anyone. Even though he had every right to be a complete dick to Flash. He was actually like, you've been through a lot, I'm not going to tell Felicia that you were a little bitch. So it's like, that's why Peter is so likable. Like, he took the high road like he always does, because he's a hero. Of course, there has to be an element of Greek tragedy as well. While we have Norman, Spencer, and Brock fleeing from the facility, they turn around and, Spencer is like, my father, he's still in there. Has he got out all right? Bang! The whole complex goes up in smoke. Huge big explosion, and we can assume that Spencer Smythe has died in the fire. So Alistair Smythe, he's lost his father. He's going to have an axe to grind now against just about everybody. I'm sure that's not going to come back to haunt us. And that was a pretty explosive finale. But of course, we have the epilogue. Okay, so in the epilogue, first of all, we have JJ and Eddie Brock, and of course, JJ is ripping ripping shreds off of him. I was trying to say shreds or strips, and I got shrips. Either way, Eddie Brock is like, oh, JJ, don't blame me, it was Spider-Man. To which, of course, JJ is like, yeah, but I can't fire Spider-Man, so, So, only 2 episodes in, and Eddie Brock has been fired. I thought they were going to build that up a little bit more, but no, okay, so Eddie Brock has just been fired. But either way, he's like, this is all Spider-Man's fault. I really hope that we have more Eddie Brock episodes, because I love doing that voice. I blame Spider-Man for all this. And then, of course, we have Peter reuniting with Felicia, but of course, Felicia's like, what the hell, man? Like, all that went down and you just bailed and you ran for cover like a little coward? If only you were brave like Spider-Man. So of course you have that classic sort of like, oh, but he is Spider-Man, but he can't say it. And that sort of dynamic. And in a kind of a sweet sort of moment, Felicia chastises Flash for like sort of being stupid for trying that stunt. But you see that she doesn't know that he was kind of a coward either, and it's kind of nice. And then finally, Peter is very sort of sweetly reunited with Aunt May, who again, not being an annoying, fragile, sort of frail little creature, she's like, that was pretty cool. And finally, the epilogue of the epilogue, we have Alistair Smythe sat there just stewing and ruminating over the death of his father, and good, feel the hate flow through you. And who's there to pick up the pieces? The Kingpin, always in the right place at the right time to capitalize on someone else's misery. He's like, what would you say if I were to build you, or give you the money to build more Spider Slayer robots? So of course, the Kingpin being the Kingpin, he still wins. So that's the big sort of like dum 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 finish to the episode, is that now Kingpin will be working with Alistair Smythe to make new Spider Slayers. And that was episode 2, season 1 of the animated 1994 Spider-Man. I hope you enjoyed re-watching and experiencing it with me. The biggest takeaway from this episode is that we need an Alistair Smythe figure. We haven't got the proper Spider Slayer Alistair Smythe yet, but I'd like to have like civilian Alistair Smythe. And also, a big bath-sized Black Widow Spider Slayer. That would be fantastic. fantastic. Folks, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, join the 6-1 Clicks by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you want to throw me some shekels, go to patreon.com/displaying model behavior. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Choose.